Hello guys. So, big question that we have going on at the moment is the yen. What do we do? Is the yen going to correct itself? Is it going to continue moving down? Um, let's discuss it. Well, I think very simply put, any of my regular viewers or elite members will know I have been long the dollar yen since we had our first intervention all the way up here at 158. So I added in my first position here. I scaled in again right here at 156. But then the issue came of, we had risk off markets, we had a hike by the Bank of Japan, and it was a case of essentially a non-stop fall. Now, bear in mind, this is the weekly time frame. So if we look on the daily, you can see how aggressive this move really was. So looking at that, I was not too happy to add in again because there's only so many times I want to add into a falling knife before I then sit on my hands and say, okay, let me just wait for a little bit and wait for a more strong confirmation. So what did we have this morning? Well, we had very dovish comments from the Bank of Japan, essentially saying that they're not going to hike rates with the market conditions that we currently have. I mean, if we look at the Nikkei, so this is the stock index for Japan. Now, this was a super aggressive move to the downside. We lost 30%, almost 30% within 10 days roughly, and that's obviously not accounting for the weekend either. So this was a huge drop on the Nikkei, really. Now this creates uncertainty in the markets, and this creates a lot of volatility, and that's something that markets don't like. Now keep in mind that all the other banks are looking to cut. So Fed is looking to cut. The ECB, the BOC, so the BOE, so Bank of England, European Central Bank. So it wouldn't make much sense for the Japanese stock market to plunge 30%, then hike rates while everyone else is cutting rates. The markets would be in an extremely volatile and unhappy time. So when we're looking at this, when we've just had a huge move to the upside, we had carry trades unwinding on the dollar yen, we had a risk off sentiment in the markets, we had stocks dropping, we had tensions rising in the Middle East, we're also coming into elections, we had a hike by the BOJ, so it was very bullish for the yen. But as I said, we've had these dovish comments now from the Bank of Japan, so that is great. So we can see highlighted here, as soon as we had those dovish comments, we're starting now to head back to the downside. Now, if we look at the move we've got here, it looks very similar to the previous moves to the upside. Now, there's no reason that this can't now continue to the downside. Now, it may not be as simple as just coming to the downside. It may have some chops, some consolidation, and then a move down. However, I am still a bear on the yen. I'm not happy with Japan as a whole. I think this move that we saw to the upside on the yen was a lot of fear in the market. I mean, as again, going back to stocks, if you look at NASDAQ, Nikkei, the S&P, the market was just full of fear. And to be honest, it still is full of fear. I don't think it's justified for the yen to be valued well, to be quite honest. I mean, go and look at their GDP compared to the dollar. Go and look at any of their statistics or data, compare it to the dollar, and Japan just underperforms in every way. Now, what I think is happening is we saw profit taking, we saw carry trades unwinding on dollar yen, and obviously that contributed to the move to the downside. And now what we've got is a really nice technical level. So I've added in actually here at 143.55. Now this trade is obviously in profit. These two are in loss. So I need price to get back to around 153. Then I'll be on average. So I'll be break even, roughly. But if we look at the technical factors, we have right here, we have the low. Then we draw our fib from the low to the high, which is here. and this is a weekly 50% pullback. Now this is super strong. If you guys ever watch my content, you'll know I love a break and retest. I love a 50% pullback and a break and retest, but it's not really a break and retest here. But just look at the pattern we're creating. It's up, lower, higher low, up, creating a higher high, now a higher low, and a continuation to the upside looks very, very probable in my book. Now, Bollinger Bands aren't something I really use, but I use them very, very rarely, but it's not really part of my strategy. It's more just something I look at from time to time, very, very rarely. But again, this is another reason I added in, because we were at the bottom of this Bollinger Band. This is a 200 Bollinger Band. Again, this lines up with this golden zone on the fib, and we've just had a really nice, well, not really nice, but we did have a bullish daily close, which in my book, pairing that with some dovish comments by the BOJ is a great confluence. And now you can see today's daily candle is moving up with significant steam. And again, just looking at this daily time frame, look at this this weekly wick, or the weekly candle. If we can get this weekly candle to close even where it is, to be honest, even if we didn't move for the rest of the week and it just stayed and we closed like this, that would be a great technical confirmation. However, it wouldn't surprise me if we do see a weekly candle close with a strong hammer up around 149. But we will see. It is Wednesday. I'm not sure we've really got enough time for it to come up that high and then close that high. But again, we'll see. Anything can happen. But essentially, my idea of a 165 target remains intact. It was, we did have turbulence. This was my original idea, actually. When I entered long roughly here, I didn't really plan on holding it for that long. It was more just, add in. And then we had, significant move to downside again after the intervention. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to manage this a little bit differently. So I cut some losses on dollar yen. I think I took a very, very small loss just to reduce my position size, because I could see the price going lower, and I planned on adding in more positions low, as I have done here. But yeah, the 165 level is still my target. However, I will monitor this one very carefully, because I've spent, 1 to 3 weeks in pretty large drawdown on dollar yen. So I'm not really looking to, see a pullback and a continuation to the downside. I really need to see a convincing weekly close to potentially continue to the upside. But yeah, if we can get this 165, that would be great. That's I've spoken about this before, but I've got a friend in London that works at a hedge fund, and he was saying that 165 is a target. And this is a shout out to anyone that watches my Trader Nick streams when I do my segments on there. Maybe 3 weeks ago, roughly, I was shouting. In fact, it was probably here. It was roughly, maybe a month ago. I was shouting and screaming and repeating myself, saying, be very, very careful trading the yen. We're in a danger zone. An intervention is coming. I don't know when, but it is coming. And not just that, I was saying 135 was the target. Now, we haven't come down to 135. But I was saying that I could, the word on the street on Canary Wharf, I'm not sure about Wall Street, but Canary Wharf, which is the banking district in London, 135 was a target. Now, I'm hearing that 165 is the target by the end of summer. So that gives us roughly a month to get to 165. Now, whether that will happen, again, I don't know. I can't see the future. But that, again, is my target. So we're going to monitor this one. Unfortunately, I didn't take a position on the Nikkei, and that is because of my dollar yen positions. Although this is a 200 moving average on the weekly, and this would have been perfect. If I was watching this at the time and I was not necessarily as deep as I am in dollar yen, we also have the weekly that just came out of oversold. This would have been a beautiful trade to take. So if anyone did take Nikkei, well done to you. I'm sure in the next couple of weeks, you should be potentially running in some great profit. But anyway, that's it from me. This was more just a quick outlook from my personal perspective on the yen. I will keep you updated, of course, in future videos and live streams and things. Take care. Don't over leverage yourself, of course. I'm not saying go and buy a load of dollar yen now or any yen, really. I'm just saying this is what I'm doing, my view. So yeah, take care.